There's a little dark patch for that eye. There's some shadow on the left side of the face. We'll darken there for that ear. Dark around the chin and part of the nose. And then I'll scrape most of that paint off the brush. And we'll pick up some of that white. So we've got a paler colour than before. Still not quite light enough. Let's get a bit more white. That's not too far out. Now I will be adding highlights to the heads of both of these animals, but for now that's okay. And then I can use this. Oh, actually that's still quite a dark colour, isn't it? I thought it was lighter than that. So let's get a bit more white and we'll just fill in the lower part of that leg there. And I could really also do with putting in a bit of a leg here, on the bit of a rear leg on that right hand animal. So the next thing I want to do is put some darker, deeper shadows in on this first animal. I've added some cobalt blue to my palette, so I'm going to take some of that and mix in some of the alizarin, and we'll take a little bit of burnt umber as well. And again, that's a good, perhaps not quite as dark as I'd like to go eventually, but we're going in the right direction. So once again, I'm going to work on a wet surface and put some water into the palette as well to keep the paint nice and fluid. And again, I can now look, got a small, sticking with the smaller brush, I've got a little bit more control in terms of defining outlines than I had with the larger brush. And I can start to add in a few kind of wispy bits coming off the edge of the fleece here. So the front of the chest is really quite dark, even darker really than I'm painting it at the moment. But it may be that I find that this will be dark enough for my painting. We'll have to, wait and see if that's the case. And, at this stage, I can start to look a little bit more at kind of some of the shapes within the fleece. So the wool is kind of bunching into sort of almost triangular shapes within that shadow. And I'm not going to try and copy, all of those, but putting a couple in here and there, as I have here, so I get those sort of pointed triangles sticking out from the silhouette. That's all going to help create the illusion that we've got wool here. Now, when I come up nearer the top of the head here, there's an area of dark shadow down there. And then there's kind of a line of shadow curving down that way. And then there's a bit of a highlight, and then things get darker again. And then there's another sort of highlight around about there. I haven't put it in quite the right place, but it's okay. So things are fairly dark over this way. Now it may look like on camera that I'm just completely covering the first coat of paint that I put down, but that's not actually the case, because when this dries back, some of that will show through this relatively translucent layer of paint that I'm putting on. Plus I will be leaving little gaps, so some of it will show through. Now if I just wet the surface of the paper again on this highlight area, what I want to do is just drag the tips of the bristles across there, just to add a little bit of dark texture without completely killing that highlight. And then putting in this darker colour nearer to some of the light colour that I put down earlier is going to have the effect of brightening that up somewhat. I will be adding brighter highlights later. Again, we'll just put a few little texture marks in that highlight I've got there on the back. That's probably enough of that colour for the moment. Now what I can do next is switch back over to this animal and see if there's anywhere I can apply that same colour. And I think there is. Certainly on this side of the head, it's pretty dark. No, actually my paint's running out a little bit, so I'm just going to grab some more of the cobalt blue, some of the crimson, some of the burnt umber again. And it's probably going to be a slightly different colour, but we're in the same ballpark. So there's a darker area of shadow there, in under the chin, extending down the front of the chest. Now I'm particularly keen to keep some of the texture I've automatically created with that first coat of paint. So I'm just going to apply this colour somewhat sparingly. And hopefully just add just enough to help describe the rounded nature of the back there. So I think I'm going to leave this one pretty much as is for the moment. So we'll head back over to the main animal, and I want to add some more reddish tones to the fleece. So I've added quite a lot of alizarin crimson to that colour that I've got mixed up already. I'm just sort of thoroughly mixing that in with what was left on the palette.